So we're standing here in front of the high tunnel. We've brought all of our fittings out and we put them on a table. This is ideally what you all want to do because it's hard to bend over in front of the tunnel. Just really easy to put all this stuff together in front of you where you have clean space. All right, so first we're going to start with the vacuum breaker. The vacuum breaker will be hooked directly up to your hydrant spigot from just a standard hose here. And the vacuum breaker's purpose is to prevent any sort of contaminants getting back into your municipal water source. The vacuum breaker is required here in our county and may also be required in your county. And also the NRCS requires this vacuum breaker. There are other types of backflow preventers, one being a check valve, the other being a double check valve, and then the other is a backflow preventer itself, the name of it. So that's our first main key piece here. And then we just have a couple of adapters. As you see here, we got a few here, a few here, and a few here. These adapters are just to either switch it from pipe thread to hose thread or vice versa. You will need to use Teflon tape to attach all of these adapters unless there is a grommet inside of the adapter. So we have our vacuum breaker, we'll attach these, and then we go to a pressure reducer. This is a 3/4 inch as well as everything else on the table here. That's pretty standard. This pressure reducer takes the water pressure down to 15 psi. That is standard for the drip tape that most people use in the fields. And you can get this from any of the greenhouse supply companies around your area. We go to a couple more fittings, adapters, and then it takes us to our spin filter. Our spin filter is what filters the water of all the small particles in the water. So sand, debris, things like that. The reason why you have that is because you don't want those types of things in your drip tape. That's what's going to clog your drip tape. We go to a couple more fittings, and then that'll take us down to our timer, which will eventually feed into the main line, header line. Okay, so here we have one type of timer. There are many different types of timers out there. This is an Orbit brand, and it's got a 4-way at the end. This enables you to water your high tunnel separately from, let's say, your garden or a different size garden, orchard. So then you go down your hose. This is just your standard garden hose, 3/4 inch, and do a couple more fittings. You also need to use Teflon tape on these. And then this is where you get into your first change in size. This is a 3/4 inch to a 1.5 inch hose threading. This is what you're going to need to feed eventually right in here, which is your insert adapter, which goes into your main line, and then you will tie that down with a hose clamp. Alrighty, so we're here at the table still, and I'm going to show you all how to apply the Teflon tape where it is needed in the entire assembly, and show you the direction that it needs to be going, as well as the tightness. So I'm just going to show you all first off here with our first adapter. As you see here, these are the two different types of threading. This is the pipe thread and this is the hose thread. Just to give you a little bit of measurement there. So I'll take the Teflon and I'm going to be looking at the threading here, and you're going to want to run the Teflon tape in the direction of your threading. So you'll take your Teflon tape and just wrap it around 3, 4, 5 times is good. If you wrap it too much, then it's going to mess with the threading and most likely cause a leak. So that's good enough. Just rip it off. Make sure it's nice and attached to the other side of the tape. And then all you do is just screw it right on in here, but when you're doing it, you want to make sure that the way that your tape direction's going is running with the threading that you're screwing it into. All right, so now that we have it screwed in just a bit with our hands, 3 to 4 times around, then we'll take our tool. This is a pipe wrench. You can use any other sort of adjustable wrench on it. And you'll just want to tie it down roughly one time around to where it's nice and taut. That's good enough. Okay, so we're gonna hook up the vacuum breaker to the hose, which comes out of your municipal water source. Most hoses, if they're new, they're coming with a washer. It's just a tiny little black washer. Just slides right on in there. And in this case, you will not need to use the Teflon tape because this acts as the sealer. So just push that on down in there and screw it on here. Okay, so this is the assembly here, and we're gonna take everything over to the tunnel and tie it into the header line. Okay, so here we are in front of the high tunnel and our spigot. This is where we're gonna be hooking up our vacuum breaker and the rest of the assembly. You want your vacuum breaker to be at least 12 inches above the highest point in the tunnel or in the field that you're going to be irrigating. That's why we have a T-post set up here, and we will install it by using hose clamps. So here we have a hose clamp. This is probably like a 3 to 4 inch or something of that nature. It just needs to be big enough to wrap around and tighten down. We're using an impact driver, definitely not necessary. You could use a little socket bit or whatever you have. So just open it up. All right, so I'm going to show you all how to hook up the vacuum breaker and assembly to the spigot. And this is the hose that's coming out of the bottom of the vacuum breaker. We have our grommet, and just